class recap for Tuesday and Wednesday, January 11th and 12th. We started both days with SSR first, then we got into some poetry, some guided notes over poetry. On Tuesday, we discussed NRhyme, which is rhyme that occurs at the last couple syllables of a line of poetry, and couplets, which are two lines of poetry that form a unit and have NRhyme. Couplets, think of it as a couple. You know, the word couple means a pair. In romantic terms, it's two people who work together in a relationship. It's the same thing with couplets. It's two lines of poetry working in close proximity in a combined relationship. An example, students go to school because they know it's cool. If they're late to class, they must have a pass. Some other NRhyme examples, I'm like a walking bank, tell me what you drink, tell me what you think. Here's a Robert Frost poem that uses a lot of NRhyme. I'll read the first stanza. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. NRhyme, simple stuff. Another famous example of couplets. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. The portfolio requirement then for that day was write 10 original couplets that demonstrate NRhyme. They do not have to be on the same topic. The next thing we discussed was internal rhyme, rhyme that occurs within a line rather than at the end. Example, my love flutters like a dove up above. That is internal rhyme. Once upon a midnight jury, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping at my chamber door. So you see this internal rhyme. Sight rhymes are words that look like they rhyme but they don't. It's also called I-rhyme. An example, slaughter and laughter. You have that otter at the end. It looks like they would rhyme but they do not. Fart and wart, that art sound at the end, it looks like it would rhyme, but it does not, and so forth. This poem uses all three, internal and sight rhyme, and you are going to create a similar poem that combines all three in one poem. That was the activity for Tuesday. On Wednesday, we discussed assonance and the difference between assonance and alliteration. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the unit, we talked about alliteration is the repetition of the same or similar consonant sounds at the beginning of words. Remember, consonants are just letters that are not a vowel. Okay, there's 6 vowels. If you include Y, which you sometimes should, then that means you have 20 words to pick from, or 20, letters to pick from that are consonants. And so those letters being repeated and that sound being repeated at the beginning of words is alliteration. An example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So then you must create a fictional story about an animal using as much alliteration as possible. Here's an example. Kumar the crazy cougar clutched a cawing crow in its claws. Please don't pummel me, Purple Pedro the crow pleaded. Then you should have paid the price for prancing about my prairie meadow. The crow's mind calculated a mile a minute. My mom wouldn't give me the money, man. So you see this in the first line, you see this C sound, this cuss sound repeated over and over again. That's alliteration. It does not have to be all one sound. I go from the C sound, the cuss sound to the P sound, and you can go back and forth. It just has to have 50 examples. So right in this first line, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right in one line. So it's very doable. Just have some fun with it. And that was what we covered in class on Thursday. So to date, we've covered 4 poems. Free verse with 2 similes and 1 metaphor, 10 couplets, a poem that uses sight rhyme, NRhyme, and internal rhyme, and the animal alliteration story that uses 50 examples of alliteration. And that's what we've covered in class on on Wednesday and Thursday of the 11th and 12th. Thanks for listening.